Have you ever wondered how to record each output separately from your Tascam 414, even though there's no tape outputs on the machine? In this video I'll show you just how to do that, and it's a little bit of a confusing workaround, but once it's set up you'll be ready to go pretty much forever. If you choose to leave it set up, that is anyway. So let's get into it. I've had a few comments that didn't actually know this was possible on this machine. It's not as straightforward as some other tape recorders, but I'm going to show you how to actually do it with this machine. So here it is. This is the Portastudio 414 Mk2, and obviously this is tape, so it's pretty cool that we can actually split this out 4 different ways just from the little thin tape that's in there. First I'll run through where everything actually comes out on this machine, because like I said, it's really not labelled in any clear way. After that I'll jump into Logic and show you some use cases for this and show you that it actually works as it should. So starting with tracks 1 and 2, this is the most simple part. They just come out of the line out left and right, but we have to make sure that the left and right are actually panned. Track 1 left and track 2 right. So we can keep the faders up for these because that's all that's going to be coming out of the left and right line out. Track 3 is where this starts to get a little bit random and it doesn't really make any sense based on what's written on the machine. But the output for this track is actually routed to effects 2. Don't ask, I have no idea why. So basically what we're going to do is leave the fader down, turn effects 2 up on this track, and then that will actually come out of this effects 2/tape Q because it's like a joint output. But this effects 2 should control the level of that output, so we can leave the fader down. Then track 4 is going to come out of the sync out, which is right next to the left and right up here. There's no level control for this, but it should just come out at line level. So now that we know that, essentially we can just set up a project in our DAW that aligns to all of these outputs. So what I'm going to do is set up a completely empty project in Logic. We're completely going in raw on this one. Start from scratch and just build it up from there. Now that we know the outputs, all we have to do is assign them to the right ones on the DAW. So let's go through that. So I'm going to make 4 tracks and then we'll go from 1 to 4. So we're going to actually match them up to the actual tape machine itself. This will be different depending on your interface, but essentially whichever input you're plugging into on your interface, you choose on here. So in my case, the line out left and right are going to 11 and 12. So track 1 is going to be 11 and track 2 is going to be 12. Track 3, which is effects 2/tape Q. In my case, this is going to 13, and then believe it or not, track 4, which is the sync out, is going to input 14. So I've just got them all in a row on the back of my interface essentially. Like I said, this will change for you, but this is just me showing a step-by-step example. And now if everything is routed correctly, I should press play and then start seeing all these individual tracks coming through without any other tracks on the other tracks. But we should press play and hear all the tracks individually. Okay, so we're getting everything coming through. So let's just double check if they're all actually correct. Yeah, so we got guitar on track 1 on its own, bass on track 2 by itself as well, drums on track 3, and a click track on track 4. So some of the benefits of recording all the outputs of this thing separately is that it keeps each track perfectly aligned every time that you bring them into the computer. Tape has a natural fluctuation in time that happens, so if you brought every track in separately and then tried to align them, they just wouldn't even line up. Everything would sound a little bit out of time. So this method completely avoids that. And if you want to go a step further with that, my last video looked into how to get unlimited tracks out of this thing all perfectly aligned. So maybe check that out after this one. You can actually mix in the box if you want now. You can get the nice authentic tape and analog sound recording directly into the tape machine and then do all your mixing after the fact. So you retain that nice tape sound, but you can also use everything that DAWs have to offer. It also could allow you to archive your work a little bit better, so you can actually split this into 4 tracks, archive it that way, and then in the future if you want to come back to remaster or remix anything, you have more flexible options. Using this method also means that there's no quality loss when you start bouncing down. Traditionally, recording with a tape recorder, if I wanted to get more tracks out of this thing than the 4 that it offers, I'd have to record the 4 tracks and then bounce 3 of those down to the first track. This works, but the problem is every time I do that, the quality of the actual recording gets worse because we're just stacking on top of it and the tape just gets worn out from it. So using this method, we can just keep bringing them into the DAW, and that way every track that we record is going to have that fresh first time recorded to tape sound, but we can still stack stuff after the fact. We could also use this method to bring stuff into the DAW, process it there, and then actually bring it back into the tape machine to keep working on it in the analog world. I explored this in a past video as well. So just to recap on a couple of things that I think might trip some people up in the process of remembering where everything goes and what to do. Tracks 1 and 2 are coming out the left and right, so be sure to pan left and right so you don't get any interference of the wrong track going on the other track. Track 3 is coming out the effects N2, so be sure to turn effects N2 up on track 3, and track 4 is coming out of the sync out, so just make sure to just leave that and it should hopefully do its own thing. If you do have any issues with this method, just let me know in the comments and I'll try my best to help you out. So that's pretty much it. It's as simple as that. I just wanted to put this video out so more people have this information, because for some reason it's really hard to find. I actually learned this from a channel here on YouTube called Super Duper, and I just wanted to go a little further and show you the actual DAW process of this, as well as just the knowledge of where these outputs come out. It does baffle me that this isn't actually labelled that well on the actual machine, but I guess they wouldn't have had as much use for this back in the day for something like this, because they wouldn't have really been bringing it into a computer. This was the home studio right here. I find hybrid recording techniques really interesting and just love exploring how to blend them together in a seamless way that gets the old school sound but also with the modern options and sort of versatility of recording that way. If this helped you out, consider subscribing and follow me on social media for all the behind the scenes of this as well. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.